So, how we can submit the data which are filled out in our form? Well, it's quite easy actually. We have a directive we can use which is named NgSubmit, and this directive will simply bind the onSubmit event to an expression, an AngularJS expression. So we can just type NgSubmit equals inside our form element, and here we need to add our expression. But before doing that, let's add a controller to our root. So let's declare it controller. Let's call it form controller, and that's it. We can save it. And then we'll move into our controller.js, and we can actually rename the name controller to form controller. What we want to do now is to declare a function that we can call from our NgSubmit directive. So let's call it $scope dot submit form equals function, and in here we'll declare what our function will do. Inside our function we will push the actual form content into this event array. So we just type $scope.event.push, and in brackets we'll pass our form, right? So actually let's add it as a parameter here, and as well as in here we'll call it inside NgSubmit, so it will be submit form, and we'll pass our event form. Okay, we rename it in form inside our function, and then here we'll push form. Okay, so we want just to display at least what's going on. Let's add a console log at a minute. With $scope.event. Let's save it. Let's go back to our page and let's type Alex desk blah blah. Category, we'll pick anyone, and email will be again alex@webyourmind.com. Okay, so I'll submit that, and let's see what our console is showing us. We have an array with one object with all our form content, right? So what do you think that will happen now if I change any of the values? Like I put this to be Tommy, I'll submit again, and now I have two objects, one with Tommy and the other one with Tommy as well. There's really something wrong here, isn't it? Well, it's quite easily explained, because if we look at line number 8, when we're actually pushing an object to the .push, the object is being passed by reference, which means that the two-way data binding and the watchers will be still enabled, and every time we keep changing data inside that specific model, automatically will be refreshed also in the $scope.event. So there is a way to prevent that. What we want to do is actually to copy the scope object, and we don't want to push it as a reference. So the easiest way to do that is just to type angular.copy, and it will contain our form. So in this way we'll just copy the scope. We won't be passing it by reference, but we'll just pass a copy of it. So I'll save again. I'll go back to my application, I restart it, and let's try again. So name 1, desk 1, that's enough, we don't need to fill all the fields. I'll submit, and I look at my object. Okay, I have my first object. Now I'll change it to name 2 and desk 2, and I'm expecting to see a second object, but this time the first object shouldn't be altered or changed by what I've done. So I'll submit, Let's look at the first object. As you can see, it's still description 1 and name 1, and the second object is description 2 and name 2. So this is a very useful information for you guys. Be aware that when you don't want to keep the binding, when you don't want to pass by reference an object, you need to use angular.copy if you're doing something like a scope push. Well, I'll show you better ways to do it. We don't want to implement again logic inside controller. We will be using a service next time. I'll show you how to do that in the next lesson.